So now we're ready to call the meeting to order in the Woods County Equalization Board. Everybody ready?
And change that to May 20th for the showing on number 15. That needs to be May 20th.
Okay.
Yes? Oh, something happened. I'm off here.
Just a pop-up should be
Oh,
going.
okay. It's probably still doing its thing.
No, it may not be, because it's
We're
no
not
way
on
to
there.
camera.
Well, we're going to be. Okay.
Or I printed. I thought I must have printed and then changed it. Yes.
It's recording, but I don't see a
Well,
picture.
you know, I take one from last year and then I rebuild it. Sometimes I miss a date. Get them changed.
So you need a motion to approve as amended? As corrected? Do I hear a motion to approve the correction on this minutes of May 20, 2026?
Motion to approve.
Correction. Okay. Second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Okay, just a minute. This is Chris, so. Hello? Just have you call mine. Uh-huh. All right, bye.
Okay, we've got a roll call on the equalization boards. Joe?
Yeah.
Levi? Here. Chris, we're all here. Ready to conduct business, all right. The approval and disapprove minutes of the equalization board meeting, April 15, 2026. We corrected those on the minutes. We have approved
Hello.
those. We approved these minutes.
I'm
That's
good.
correct.
How are
Okay.
you? I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. Okay, all right. I can find out, figure out how. Okay, I think I got you on there.
Perfect, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good deal. Sorry
Yeah,
about
I'm gonna do the
that.
update.
Bring this black.
This way.
Yeah, but I think it's still
Okay.
going.
Okay.
We need to sign the affidavits first. don't we?
Yes, we'll sign the affidavits real quick.
Today's 16th.
Yes, no.
Thank you.
State 17, isn't it?
I'll do it, I'll watch.
Well, it's on your packet. In your packet. In your packet.
We're going to take for a minute and take a look at the documents that you have here in front of us, and
Yes, sir.
take a look at that. I assume you're Mr. Lewis?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. All right. We have with us all three board members, several other people here.
Renata Benson, County Assessor. Cindy Tyrone, Deputy Assessor. Jennifer Schaefer, County Clerk First Deputy.
Brian Mitchell from the DA's office. Ben Hunley with Total Assessments.
Okay. And Sheriff,
Nicola?
Brandon McCullough, yep.
okay, all right.
Mary Ann Martin from Auburn McCreary.
Okay, so we're gonna take a minute here to look at what you've got presented to
Yes,
us,
sir.
okay?
It doesn't have a picture, but it's still recording. I didn't, not a mess with it.
ask you a question after looking at this. Do you have a map of your holdings here in Woods County that were in question here?
You said a map?
Yes, do you have a map of these pipelines and locations? What we have is just an identity here of the county, but do you have a map for this?
I do, yes, sir. I don't know if I can send that now, I can get it over. I do apologize. I do see it just has the listing and not the actual map, but I do have that map.
I can get it from my email if he wants to send it, if you want to see it.
Okay, try to send it if you can, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I will get that sent over right now. And Shelley, would you like me to just email this to your email?
Yes, that would be great, and I'll run up and get it.
Yes, ma'am. Alrighty. That map right here. Okay. Alright, I'm going to get this printed out, scanned in, and have it sent over right to you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, would you? Thank you. That's fantastic.
Let's call this the Woods County map. Alrighty, Shelley, I have just clicked send, so you should be getting it here in just a second.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anita, wait.
That's all.
Was the truck? 27 shop. So you're gonna keep moving, I think. Yeah, 35. I don't like it. Yeah. I'm wondering. It won't take more than 40. What do you think? Okay, you do that. We're still in this meeting. Oh, we got it. We said active. Oh, crap.
Did that go through for you, Shelley?
My first deputy ran upstairs to get that. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it? Okay. All right, it's okay. We'll work on it. Just keep watching. All right, I'll talk to you later. Missed it. The fire. Oh, hey, sent fire way east. See, way east of me.
Before she retires.
We're in Byron.
Straight south of you.
I don't know. He took my pickup out to him.
Gotta be straight south of you.
You don't even need that. Oh, I did not, they are a feature out there. Forgot about it. He was busy. I missed it. No big deal.
You know what happens this afternoon, when the wind comes up and whatever.
The wind's supposed to come up from the southwest. Yeah, there's a gonna change from the southwest to northwest of 10 to 23. So it's gonna change to the northwest, which will blow it away from it.
I think we're on both sides of it, so.
Yeah, okay. I just got that one place.
Thank you.
8 locations there.
Okay,
Okay, all right, we've got your map and
Perfect.
take a look at, you have eight identities here on your Schedule A, and all of those are there located in your map then, right?
Yes, sir. And I know on the map, it's kind of zoomed out. It's not as well zoomed in, but all those they're accounted into those lines. Like I know, like if you look at the map, it does only show like the Helena, Camp Houston, those, I guess, line items, but everything is in this.
Okay. So, your purchase was, assume you've got May 1 on most of these, is that correct? Is that 2026 or 25?
I believe this was 25. This was recently 25, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, all right. Go ahead and explain your position if you would, please.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And, I'd like to start by saying good morning and thank you all for y'all's time. I really do appreciate it. So, we recently picked up Williams Midstream Gas Services. They are a new client of ours. The Williams Group originally owned all these assets, and this was, a competitive bid in which our client bought these assets. They chose to keep the Williams Midstream Group name, or the Williams Midstream Services name, I'm sorry. And so, basically, there's obviously a big difference in what we got noticed from what we rendered. And I will say, I want to, say thank you to the assessors and their team for helping us match all these systems. These acquisitions aren't always the easiest. There's a lot of stuff that we have to make sure we get nailed down on our end, and I do appreciate them working with us on that. So we did, I believe, get everything matched as far as the segments, the type, the size, so all that good stuff on these pipelines. And so essentially what it comes down to now is, as you see, there's a purchase price allocation. I do understand that pipeline is on the schedule, and again, that goes to the cost approach. However, our statement is just simply that there was an arm's length transaction. There was this acquisition in which, the total amount was $57 million. Of course, we allocated the right-of-ways, easements, the intangibles, and then with what's left of actual taxable personal property, tangible property, that's the allocation that we made throughout these, I believe it's 6 counties in Oklahoma, 2 in Texas. And so that's essentially what it comes down to. I think that's the biggest difference. At the end of the day, we're trying to get, both sides are trying to get to a true market value. And with the purchase price allocation, our opinion, our stance is that this is the best way to truly show what the market value of these assets are. This is, essentially what somebody would sell them for and what somebody bought them for. Kind of to that point, we've been working with a lot of other counties that you'll see. We have had some success in some other counties in which they were able to get closer to our number, a reasonable number. And, again, our client wants to just make sure they're paying a fair amount, just obviously not an excessive amount. So essentially, that's kind of where you'll see that big difference from $13 million fair market value that we rendered to the now $73 million after, they were able to provide us another updated notice on their market value side. So that's kind of just the backstory on it. You know, this was the purchase price, a recent one, it wasn't old. So this is essentially what we're saying these assets are worth. This is what they're worth, their true market value.
Okay, what percentage of this pipeline did you not own that you purchased? You say you owned a larger percent and then you had purchased a small interest here?
No, I may have misspoke on that, but
Okay, did you buy 100% of this pipeline?
correct. These systems that are listed, absolutely, in Woods County.
Okay,
Everything that's listed in Woods County, that is what our client purchased.
okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Any questions at this point till we hear the other side?
Well, I had some questions, if
Okay.
you don't mind,
Right.
Absolutely.
for Keelan.
We're look at some questions here that's brought up from our people here.
Yes, sir, of course.
Can you hear okay?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay.
Hey Keelan, this is Ben Hunley, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good. Hey, what was the effective date of the sale of these assets?
So let me see.
May 20.
This was, let's see, effective date. December 23rd, 2025 was the purchase agreement that was dated. Effective date as of January 1st, 2026. So 1/1/2026.
Is there any documentation that you have that provides us with that information?
Yes, sir. I do have the full PSA. And I could send over, you know, the section that does state the effective date.
That would be great, because as I was looking through your packet, just noticed one thing, is that there's no dates on any of this stuff that's signed by Williams, MLP Operating, or which is the seller, or Whiptail Holding, which is the buyer, but there's no dates anywhere on any of that stuff, and so that was a little bit confusing. I did read in your packet that what we're talking about here are active assets, so all these pipelines and these meters and production locations and compressor stations, outside of a couple that are designated as inactive, but
Yes, sir.
by and large, all of it is active. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, sir. I do believe that is correct.
Okay. And you also mentioned the purchase price allocation, which I didn't see in your packet, but I saw some kind of sales agreement thing signed, but could you help us on the economic obsolescence calculations, kind of in detail of how whoever did that?
Yes, sir. And kind of what you said is kind of how I explained it. Whoever did that, I'm going to explain kind of what went into that. And so that obsolescence that you'll find on ours, how that was calculated was we had the total purchase price of the $57 million. Then an amount was attributed to intangibles, which was, I believe, that amount was $28.5 million. And then the rest of that was then allocated per county, essentially based on that allocation. So how we did it was we ran the actual, and again, as I mentioned, pipeline is on a schedule. So we ran the replacement cost new on the Oklahoma to task schedule, We ran it through there and got, what that replacement cost of new value would be. And then from there is where we kind of backed into our number of, this allocation amount to what we feel like this value should be. And so that obsolescence, I'm sure on the rendition, you'll see it probably varies for different pieces of pipe and different types. But essentially, that is kind of how that number was created. It was, an allocation weighted based on that allocation amount, that total allocation amount to Woods County.
So of the $57 million that we think was paid for these assets, 28.5% was intangible assets?
That is the information I was given, correct.
Wow, that's a large amount.
Because I haven't seen the purchase and sales agreement outside of what you provided in your packet, were there any discussions of liabilities, when we talk about these oil and gas assets, especially when you're talking about production assets, there are some assumed liabilities in the purchase, i.e. plug-in obligations for the wells, abandonment of inactive pipeline. There might be some environmental impact issues out there. Was there any consideration given to those type in the purchase sales agreement, or?
Yes, sir. I do believe that is correct. Yes, sir.
What is correct? That we, even though we paid $57 million, if we paid $57 million, but we also inherited $57 million in liabilities, wouldn't that be $114 million? That's kind of where I was going with that. Or is the 57 all inclusive?
So, from what I'm seeing, the 57 is all inclusive. That's my understanding. The 57 is the entire purchase price, the full deal. It's what they paid completely.
Wow, that's slow. Pretty slow cases, but thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, did that answer the question or no? I do apologize.
We need to see all of this stuff in writing, so, at some point here, you need to get that to us.
The full PSA?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All of the documents that are included in this sale here.
Yes, sir. I will let my client know I need to get that sent over.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us about this before we turn to the assessor?
No, sir. I think I essentially said, what I could. Again, if y'all have any questions, of course, please let me know, and I'll, again, try my best to get those answered. That is it for me.
Okay, all right. Now,
Okay, now we'll do a little presentation for the assessor's office. Okay. Good. My name is Ben Hunley. I work for Total Assessments, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's been a few years since I've been in Woods County, but I did find my way here. So I'm not getting so old I can't find my way back to places I've been previously. I've kind of worked for Jerry Wisdom for about 11 years now. Previous to that, I started working for Tenneco Oil Company in 1991. Most of my experience has been in production operations, facilities management, and pipeline construction and for operations before I worked for Jerry. I've handed out a packet to everybody, and I'd like to start by going to the very first couple of pages are the renditions that were submitted. The first page of the renditions. We've got 4 different school districts, and they've given us some information there on those pages. If anybody has any questions, just stop me at any time and ask me about that. That's going to be your first 4 pages.
have you got a more detailed map than this right here?
I do not. No, that's the first map that I've acquired on these assets. If you'll turn to the next page, page 6. This is the letter that they sent to the assessor's office that's telling us, again, it doesn't have any date on it. And I kind of asked Keelan those questions because that date was kind of important to us. But this is dated on March the 13th, informing the assessor's office that Williams Midstream Gas Services was acquired by Whiptail. They're going to keep the same name, just change the ownership of it. And they included the obsolescence percentage calculated based on the purchase sales agreement. One of the things first thing I asked when they talked to me about this was, well, do we have a purchase sales agreement? I saw the purchase sales agreement, although it doesn't have any dates on it, so that's a little bit baffling to me. But we also need the purchase price allocation, and that really breaks down the assets and what was sold and the price for each asset. Individually, line by line item, it would be a lot of pages and probably difficult to come up with at this point. The next page, if you turn to page 7, I believe. Mine are not numbered. I numbered y'all, but I didn't number mine. Yeah, page 7. So I went to Whiptail's website, and I noticed that they did have some news on their website. This news article is dated on March the 16th of 2026. Whiptail Midstream acquires Anadarko Basin gathering and compression assets. And it just tells you that Whiptail Holding 2 LLC has completed an acquisition of the natural gas gathering pipelines and compression assets in the Anadarko Basin from the Williams Company. And then it tells you a little bit about the assets, 1,200 miles of natural gas pipelines, some compression facilities located in Alfalfa, Beckham, Roger Mills, Washita Woods, and Woodward counties in Oklahoma. So that's why I was kind of asking about what the effective date of this transaction was, because they bought it from the Williams Company. He said that, he made the statement that it was done on 1/1/26. I haven't seen that in an official document yet, but I did go to the Williams Company's 10K. They're a publicly reporting company. We know these assets. We have a history with these assets, and I'll detail that to you in just a little bit. And in their 10K that they filed with the Security and Exchange Commission for 2025, they make no mention of the sale of these assets. So they did talk about the assets a little bit in the 10K, but they did not mention the sale, which again, that's going to be through December 31st of 2025. He said that the effective date was 1/1/26. I would think that it would mention that in the SEC filings that they had. Those SEC filings have to be true and correct to the Security and Exchange Commission. There's no leniency with them on your reporting. So I'm not convinced that the sale occurred in 2025, actually. And so that's a little bit of something that we would have to overcome. We did talk about, the next page is the cover of the Oklahoma Tax Commission's manual, and we talked about what the status of these assets were in the county, and we determined that they were mostly active. I would say 95% of them were active. I know there's a couple of compressor stations that were inactive previous and have been treated as inactive for a number of years, and so I didn't have any problem with that. But when I look at the Oklahoma Tax Commission and the pipeline schedule, it talks about idle pipe and how you should value idle pipe if you're in the business of valuing these kind of assets. But the definition is pipe that has not been used to flow, gather, transportation, or delivery of petroleum-based products or any other product or service for a period of 2 consecutive years. So if it's been down and not used for 2 years, it gives us guidance to value the idle pipe maybe based on 20% of replacement cost new. And that's a kind of an important number that we should consider. So when we're talking about active pipe, I would think that it would be valued at more than 20% of replacement cost new.
Now, when you say active pipe, what are you referring to here? Whether that pipe is a pressure or whether it's flowing from a producing well into a transmission line somewhere?
Both.
Okay, if it's pressure, it's active.
If it's pressure, yeah, if it's flowing gas, it's
Yeah.
got pressure on it, and it would be, I would consider it to be active, yes, sir.
Okay, so in other words, if there's a well shut in a section and they do not have a shut-off valve at the beginning of the lease location, and that location is active or it's pressurized, that's an active pipeline, right?
I would consider it to be active, yes, sir. I personally would. I think you might, if you knew the well was down and you had documentation that that well was not producing into that pipeline segment, that lateral, that's taking it to the main line, you might consider giving some consideration to that fact if you had, solid proof. And that the only reason it's pressurized is because we don't have a valve right there, but the valve leading from the well to the pipeline is closed and there's no production being reported for that well. You could give some consideration for that, and we do at times, but in general speaking, I would think that if it was pressurized and there was gas in it, it would be considered active, yes, sir.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is there's a lot of lines that the well has been abandoned, the pipeline is still there, but it's still pressurized, and you have to call Okie to get it marked. And if it was not pressurized, then it wouldn't be such a danger. But if it's pressurized, you got a problem.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, that would-
All right.
So that's it, that's kind of what I'm thinking is, that's kind of leading me in a direction of this is active pipe, and so it should be at least more than 20% of replacement cost new. Let's look at a history of it. That's the next page here. The history in the county. I've just kind of pulled some information that we have. As I said, the Williams Company owned these assets for a number of years. I just went back to 2021 and tried to look at it by school district in the first 4 columns and then a total in the last column. And that story tells me that these midstream assets, if you look at 2021, and we're just going to pick the Alva School District, in 2021 we were at $37,800,000. In 2022 we went to $48 million. Well, why did we do that? Well, in the midstream business you do that because you added assets. That's what you did. You added some assets and you're building up your system. That number can go up and down. I've made the statement before in board hearings that in the midstream business, it's a pretty fluid business. And what I mean when I say that is that there's constantly changes being made from year to year in your production operations. You have wells that shut in, and so you're no longer producing there. Then you have new wells that come on, and you build a lateral to them. And so it's not uncommon to see a fair amount of these assets come into play and then out of play year to year. And so, but I guess what I would say is that what I would look at is this big drastic change in anything would kind of be a red flag for me. And if you just kind of look at that chart that I've done for you, year 21 through 25, and even 26, you can see that the values have relatively stayed the same in the school districts outside of some additions and then maybe some subtractions as we go along. And in 2026, we're at that $73,857,195. You see, last year these assets were $8,737,814. Why is that? Well, we believe some of these assets that the Williams Company sold to Whiptail, they had some additional assets that they sold to another company called Diversified Energy. And so that's some of that drop that you see there. But then if you look at the next columns down, this is the taxpayer's opinion of value, and I did a replacement cost new number for you. Per school district, they're asking for a value of $8,400,000 in the Alva School District. That represents about 11% of replacement cost new. In the Winoka School District, it's $1,327,000. That represents about 6.73% of replacement cost new. This is not idle pipe, gentlemen. This is active pipe. And I know they're saying they used a sale, but I haven't seen that yet, and so it kind of raises some red flags to me. The Freedom School District, they want a value of just under $3 million. That represents 9.4%. You look at the Eileen Cleo School District, it's about 6.3% of replacement cost new. Look, for the total county, they want about 9.84% of replacement cost new. And again, this is active pipe. So some of the examples that I ran across when I was looking at is the next page. If you look at this, is the detailed asset list that they submit to the county for Williams Midstream. They're talking about the Alba, I guess the Alba North number 2 compressor station. They have 2 compressors now. They used to have 3. As I recall, maybe 5 at one time, but the last time we were there it was 3. But they've got these 2 compressors here. The cost $5,648, and then for one of them, and $5,643 for the other one. Now, we've been to the Alba North compressor station number 2, and that's the picture on the next page of the sign. When we were there in 2018, we did a field inspection, and if you'll turn to the next page, at that time they had 3 compressors there. Now, we did a look at Google Earth this morning, and we know that there's just 2 compressors there now. We saw that, and they removed one of the big sheds as well. But there's 2 of those compressors are still sitting there, and I think it just defies logic that that piece of equipment right there costs $5,648 or $5,643. That's not reasonable. I don't think any one of those units would, they'd bring much more than that if you took it to the salvage yard and scrapped it all out. And so that's kind of an anomaly that I just don't understand it, actually.
The reason for 3 compressors, I think, is if they run 2, they always got one backup, so they can work on one. That's why they have 3.
That is correct, but now they only have 2.
Okay, so that would indicate they think their volume's down.
They probably have lost the volume. Yeah, that's a good bet. And the next 2 pages I have for you are just the valuation that we did on the assets for 2026. My exercise on the history of values page that you had earlier can give you the other year's values if we want to go over it. But I did separate it by school district. And we got the Alba School District, Winoka, Freedom, and the Eileen Cleo, and the different values for fair market value that I've calculated, that we've calculated for the county. And on the very back page, it gives you a grand total fair market value that I'd ask for the board to affirm. $73,857,195. That's for all 4 school districts and the county. You know, last year we were at $80,373,000 on these assets, although I do believe some of them have been sold, but I think that was part of the, is we were not sure from the taxpayer exactly what assets they bought. There wasn't a good list of that, what was sold to what company. Here to there, we value the Williams Midstream Gas Services pipelines and compressors and meters exactly the same way, using the same exact schedule that we do for every other operator in the county. Now, I understand sometimes sales take place. Sometimes they're a fire sale, sometimes it's a distress sale. I don't know about this one. I haven't seen enough information on it to know. Not having any dates on anything is a little bit suspicious to me. And then the advertisement that the buyer makes on March the 16th that they just acquired the properties makes me believe that the effective date probably would have been in 2026 and not in 2025. And really, we were tasked with valuing the assets in 2025. So I don't mind looking at the sales, and I know sometimes sales tell us a different story when you get some information on income and that kind of stuff when you're looking at it. That's above my head as we speak because I don't have enough information to decipher all that. But that's all I.
Do you think diversified block part of Williams and What's your thinking there?
That was my understanding, but I don't have enough information to make a concrete statement to that. I would have to really get into this and look at it really deeply. And really, I would need that purchase price allocation. That's where the buyer of the assets sits down with the seller of the assets, and line by line item, they go, okay, you pay this much for this compressor. You pay this much for this compressor. You pay this much for this segment of pipe. This much for this segment of pipe. They'll have it all detailed list. It'll be a long list. I understand it's a big sale, but that's what we really need.
Okay.
And then, of course, the full purchase sales agreement so that we can look at it and we can kind of decipher on, like, in my opinion, the plug-in obligation is going to be a big obligation in this purchase because they do have producing wells on this system that they acquired. I can tell that, I think that, I don't know that for a fact. I believe that to be the case because of the number of meters that they have on their valuation. So it would take a deeper dive into all these things to understand, you know, what was actually sold, put a number on the liabilities that are included in the purchase, and then come up with the value that way.
So my understanding is here, you're not sure what they bought, whether they bought production, the wellhead and production, leases, or is this just strictly pipeline transportation?
Well, it is that, for sure. Whether it's production locations, I do not know. But I do know it's pipeline for transportation.
Do you know how many meters they have on this system?
Yes, sir. Well, I know that in Alva School District, they have 276 meters. I know that. That indicates to me that there's some production in that number. You just wouldn't have that many meters if you were just a midstream operator. In Winoka School District, you have 67 2-inch meters. In Freedom, you have 85 2-inch meters. So in the Eileen Cleo, there's 12 meters there, 2-inch meters. So those, to me, that indicates production locations. That also tells me that there's going to be a big liability on plug-in obligations that should go along in the calculation of what we actually paid for these assets. We may have paid $57 million in cash, but we may have took on $100 million in liabilities. I don't know what that number is. I just threw that out there. Keelan, don't have a heart attack on me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just say it's a deeper dive. That's all I have for the board today, and I'd be glad to try to answer any questions if you have any.
And I guess Board, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Am I able to ask questions?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I really just wanted to, I guess the first thing I kind of wanted to ask is, I know that you mentioned, I believe you were looking at, was it the 10K for the Williams?
That's true. Yes.
Okay, yes, sir. So on that as well, like, you'll see, it does show that, like, in December of 2025, that I guess this is when these were held for sale. So, I do think this sale obviously happened before that 1/1/2026. Again, I do understand, like, I need to get you that actual signed document 100%. So I'm going to make sure that, I can get that over to you. I guess that's kind of that piece. I did have a question regarding the active pipeline you mentioned.
Okay.
Okay, so on the active pipeline, essentially it sounded like you said, that active pipe should be 20% more than the replacement cost of new, is that correct?
No, not 20% more, but, well, it's just guidance. I'm not saying a specific number, really, but the guidance from OTC is that you would value idle pipe at 20% of replacement cost new, if it's been idle for 2 consecutive years.
Yes, sir.
Now, that doesn't mean that's, I guess that, but again, that's guidance, and so we would just, but that just kind of gives you a gauge to go by.
Yes,
So when
sir.
you're talking about active pipe, then it's like, well, shouldn't the guidance be to value it at more than 20% of replacement cost new? That's the inference that I get from that guidance that I get from Oklahoma Tax Commission.
Yes, sir. And then you having that knowledge on that end, I guess what I'm trying to understand is when you say active pipe, and I know it's kind of discussed, it sounds like you're saying no matter, what is going through that pipe, if there's something in there, it's active. So I guess my question would be, and again, obviously I know I don't have that data, or I didn't provide that data to you. Again, somehow I'd have to get. But I guess for my general understanding, if there was a throughput percentage, you would then re-look at that value, just saying that it's active, so we need to do it this way, and maybe you look at more obsolescence. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that whether it's 100%, going full capacity or 20% full capacity, you're just going to value it all the same based on that schedule and that guidance?
Well, I think what you're asking, and I don't know for sure, but I don't think I would consider anything 100% because my experience in the midstream sector of the business is that we don't really actually operate any pipelines at 100%. If we did and we had a problem, we'd have a major problem. I think most engineers that I've worked with in the past that have designed these systems usually give you some buffer in there, because when you're talking about compressor and pressurized lines, if you do have an issue somewhere in your line, you don't want to be forced to shut down your production because of that issue. You want to have some time to rectify that issue so that your pipeline pressures have a place to go in those emergency type situations, and you don't have to, if you were operating at 100%, you had a problem, you'd have to shut everything down. Of course, then, or you'd have a major problem like a blowout. So you wouldn't do that. So I think there has to be some discussions about historical throughput, through the system. I wouldn't take I don't think I would think a theoretical 100%, and now we're only using it 50%, so I need a 50% reduction in value. I don't think that's true at all, because I don't think they're designed to operate at 100% to start with. And then you would want to look at your historical throughput through the years of 5, or maybe even, average, 5-year average of throughput. And then you can do some calculations on the income side to see if there's really any economic obsolescence in the asset.
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, the 100%, that may have obviously been not a good, analogy. I guess what I was trying to get at is, it does sound like, even though based on the cost approach, it sounds like it almost like whether, and again, I'm sorry, 100% was the wrong, I guess, analogy, but it seems like it's just getting valued no matter what's going through that on the cost approach, this replacement cost new, that it will all be the same, no throughput. But I guess you're saying that, yes, there may be something to look at if you looked at historical and just what that throughput was doing, because,
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could make some considerations in value based on utilization, and
Yes,
based
sir.
on historical throughput. You could do that.
Right, and I guess, and again, I do appreciate you for answering that for me.
Sure.
The last thing I had was just honestly, I wanted to clarify that cost approach method and just kind of how that was being done. And then it does sound like at the end of the day, I know that, there seems to be some questions about this being, I don't know if it's questions about it being a legit sale. Like, as you mentioned, the Williams company is a publicly traded company. I don't think, obviously, they would do anything that wasn't above board as far as the sale goes. I do understand that as far as what you're needing, data in front of you, that yes, I need to get you, the signed data. But kind of back to what you were saying, if this stuff was signed, and, as you mentioned, there is sales that happen, again, as you stated, the Williams company they're a big company. They can't do anything below board. They're very scrutinized. So with that being said, this acquisition number, that 57, if that was the true, the they did. That's the data, and had the sign and everything. Would you then reevaluate what the true market value of these assets are, not using the cost approach? Because it seems like the cost approach is kind of irrelevant in this case. If you were to buy a vehicle 1-1, but the cost approach made it $2 million higher, and again, it might be another terrible analogy, just trying to simplify it. I feel like the true market value wouldn't be based on what a replacement cost new is, but rather what a fair sale, a legit sale and buy would indicate. Would you agree on that or no?
I would say that our methodology is to always use the cost approach, and when we see adjustments that need to be made, when we see that either in a sales analysis or in the income approach analysis, that we would make adjustments in our cost approach to rectify that situation. Like if we saw EO, we would still use the cost approach in valuing the assets. We would just make adjustments in that cost approach to rectify any obsolescence that we saw in the marketplace or in the particular asset.
Yes, sir. So essentially what you would do is kind of,
Put a factor on it.
Well, put which is what we did. We took that and then put the factor. But yes, it does sound like at the end of the day, we would both just back into that number based on, those, what you were looking at. But again, I really just wanted to make sure that I was clear on those points. And, to your point again, the Williams company is, you can read their 10K. It's public data. It's for anybody. So nothing, below board is going to go on. So I just wanted to clarify that. But that was all the questions I had, and I really do appreciate you answering those for me.
Okay. Well, look, Keelan, I did say that I looked through their 10K. I didn't read all of it, but I went through it. It's pretty long, actually. They didn't talk about the assets, and they did talk about they were maybe for sale, but they didn't talk about the sale of the assets in that 10K that they filed. And that's through December 31st of 2025 for that company. They don't file that until like April or March. So if something would have happened in January, that's something that they would have in that 10K. And if it's in there, I missed it, but I did spend quite a few hours on the 10K looking through it, and I just didn't see anything in there. So I guess that's kind of where I would just say that, hey, we just need more information on the effective date of the sale.
Understood, and we can. And that's what I'll make sure that we get you. I just wanted, again,
Yeah.
I know the 10K is long, but spending hours on it, I do see where I guess you could not see some of it.
Yeah, that's true. Trust me, that's true. That's all I have. Again, I'd ask the board to affirm the assessor's number of $73 million. Yeah, $857,195.
I'm Chris Olson with the board here. I'd like to see your detailed map of your properties in Woods County so that we can evaluate whether you have active wells on this, your meters are active, or whether they just, and when I say active, I mean, is it producing gas or are you just marking the chart once every 6 months?
Okay, yes, sir.
There is a big difference there. And what was do you purchase the gas at wellhead and then transport it? Is that part of your system?
That I would have to verify. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, well, see, if you're just a transporter only, or whether you're a purchaser at wellhead, if that is the case, we will need some more information from you.
Yes, sir. Understood.
So that means, that goes to your contract.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I suggest we set this aside till we get that information. Because I don't think I can make a judgment without knowing exactly what we've got here. If he's listing 25 or 30 meters, and some of them are inactive and have been, if some of this pipe, I am familiar with Williams. I tried to buy them a few years ago, and they sold to Aurora, and Aurora ends up selling to Western, all the way to Target. There's, Williams was an old producing company that had quite a bit of infrastructure in Woods County. I'd like to see that.
Well, they had, Williams didn't complain about their 73 million last year.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. We really
They have
haven't.
never appealed,
It was 80 last year. No, they haven't.
never
In the
ever
last 6
appealed.
years.
So I don't see, until you get me more information, I mean, maybe we need more, but, I don't see any reason. Just because they changed, they're trying to weasel out of paying taxes, don't take me, you know, I tend to call spade a spade. I don't have a problem putting it off. Do you?
No, I think we need more information to verify what we've got here, because if it goes into the next step, we need to be able to.
Let's make sure that both parties here understand what more information they want exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll say what I believe I heard, and please just correct me if I'm wrong. For sure, what I'm needing to be able to provide is the full signed purchase sale agreement. And then we were also needing a detailed map. Is that what that was?
Yes. We need to verify that your line that you're being assessed here is active,
Yes, sir.
whether it is abandoned or anything, because, you know, it looks like you're purchasing an entire property of Williams in this particular county.
Yes, sir. And I guess to that point, I would assume, and again, I don't like making assumptions, so if this is a dumb question, I do apologize, but if we had the data as far as, you know, I would definitely ask the client, but I would assume there should be some type of historical throughput or, you know, the volumes going through these pipes. Would that also be something that y'all would like to see as well? Or just want to make sure I have everything? I'd rather too much than not enough.
Well, we need dates. Oh,
No, we need to have a date that he gets this to us,
yeah, okay, when can you get this to us?
because
Uh,
we can't drag this out forever.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can reach out to my client today. Again, I'm not sure how quick. I mean, I guess what would be I mean, is there like the latest date? I mean, this is just wondering kind of how that would work. And I don't want to drag it out either. I promise. I have tons of other states and counties as well. So I promise you, I'm not trying to hold anybody up.
I understand your evaluation. I really do. But I think we have to do due diligence here.
Yeah.
So we have to have this other information. So we need that quick.
Yes, sir.
We need to give him a date.
We need
have
a
to have
date.
it by, so that we can get,
Yeah.
because we gotta close the board out.
When,
Well, it's supposed to be, we had it through June.
It goes through the 31st of June, correct?
So if we could have it where we could come back on,
Within a week.
within a week from today?
that'd be the 24th.
Yeah.
We could have a meeting again if we have the information.
Okay. All right. A week, if you can get that to us, that will give us 2 weeks before we have to close up. Basically.
Can you do that?
I'm so, are we setting the 24th as the actual remeet date, or is that, because we also have Roger Mills, the same thing, formal hearing for Roger Mills. That's at 1 p.m. And I'll be completely honest, I'm not sure how far that is from Woods.
Right.
Yeah, you're not too far. You're within an hour of getting to Roger Mills.
Oh, well then, if we could, if that was the date and it was set in the morning, I don't think that'd be an issue at all. Or vice versa, if it was after
Right.
that.
Because we would probably have it like at 8:30 in
Yeah.
the morning,
Yeah.
that would work.
Yes.
Okay.
So do you look at maybe bringing that information then on that date? Or you want
Yes.
to email it to him? Okay.
I I will, I would like to come in person. I do apologize for not being in person there today. However, yes, I would like to be there in person for this.
Okay,
And that way, I can, I can go from Gainesville to Woods, and then from Woods to Roger Mills, and just get that all knocked out.
okay,
Get us that map as quick as possible so we can
Yes, sir.
do some search.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all very much.
Pleasure.
I do appreciate it.
Do I hear a motion to set the table this till
So moved.
later day? Say, Joe, second it.
Yeah, whatever.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Table this till next 1 week, 24.
okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all again very much for y'all's time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye. You got my number, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Then I move we recess until the 24th.
Yeah.
That's what we gotta do.
Recess or just table till we.
It says recess, it says recess right here.
Thank you.
Adjourn, recess, or reconvene.
Yeah.
So recess.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second. And it passed.
Yeah.
We already voted on that thing.
Okay.
All right.
Very
Now, to be clear, I want to look at that map because I know all these other pipelines will say they've got an active meter out there. And actually, the meter's been pulled, the well's been plugged, but they've never gone to the business of taking it off their record.